Welcome to all media houses. Welcome to our e-hailing drivers. Welcome to Gauteng taxi industry, namely Santago, the Gauteng Taxi Association Alliance, and thank you for honoring our invitation. Without any further ado, let us go to the core of the presser. We'll call upon our Managing Director, Shesha, to put our corporate position in this regard. And thereafter, we will be followed by our Gauteng e-hailing services, Gauteng Ramaila, NTA, Theo Malele, and Santago, Rebecca Pala. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the media from various electronic, print, and social media. You are welcome, and thank you for coming. My name is Shesha. I'm the project manager and managing director at Shesha, and I'll be presenting our media statement on behalf of Shesha. There has been reported intimidation incidents of harassment and extortion targeting other e-hailing companies, allegedly perpetuated by the people claiming to be from Shesha or representing Shesha. Before I respond to those allegations, please allow me to formally introduce Shesha to you. Shesha e-hailing services is an indigenous South African e-hailing platform that is established to address the historical conflict between the taxi industry and e-hailing services, who are currently the key stakeholders. It aims to facilitate cooperation and collaboration between the minibus taxi industry and e-hailing services by promoting cooperation, resolving the recurring complaints, while promoting impartiality, humility, inclusivity, and integrity in order to meet the needs of all stakeholders. Shesha is the first e-hailing company that offers value to all its stakeholders. The first e-hailing company that prioritizes safety before profit. The first e-hailing company that promotes equality, empowerment, and development. The first e-hailing company that offered e-hailing drivers shareholding in the company. And last but not least, the first company that consults, involves, and informs its stakeholders. Please allow me to take you back to the formation of Shesha. Although the country's e-hailing service industry has expanded tremendously, it has elicited a variety of responses. While it addresses the issues such as inconvenient transportation and unemployment, we cannot deny that it has also caused a number of challenges that include exploitation and conflicts that resulted in the loss of lives. The minibus taxi industry has expressed dissatisfaction with the rapid expansion of e-hailing services, asserting that the competition is unjust, resulting in the taxi industry losing market share to e-hailing and placing their businesses at risk. The meter taxi also expressed displeasure with e-hailing services, citing unfair competition that causes them to lose business. While e-hailing drivers express their dissatisfaction with the intimidation that threats that they receive from the minibus taxi industry and meter taxi, which restricts their ability to operate freely. They have also complained about being exploited and receiving insufficient support from the platforms for which they work. Riders have also expressed dissatisfaction with the inability to request rides from other locations as a result of the restricted areas of e-hailing services. Furthermore, riders express their dissatisfaction with the inconsistent prices of e-hailing services, which impede the planning and budgeting of their trips as a result of price fluctuations. Furthermore, safety concerns have arisen as a result of incidents in which both clients and drivers have been mugged, raped, assaulted, hijacked, and killed as a consequence to the e-hailing services' lack of security. The facts to which I have just alluded are well known to you and the stakeholders mentioned above. It was important for us as Shesha to listen, observe, and consult in order to understand the sorrow of the taxi operator whose taxi has been repossessed by the bank since he can no longer afford to pay the installment due to not earning enough money as he used to understand the plight of the meter taxi driver who is driving an old model car that is no longer getting trips since the customer prefers a newer model transport, resulting in the meter taxi spending days without receiving a single ride as before. To understand the suffering of e-hailing drivers who goes to work, e-hailing driver who goes to work every day and earns money to spend on petrol and pay the car owner, leaving him with little to live on. To understand the daily struggles of the ordinary people in the country and the poverty that prevails in our communities. And last but not least, to understand the frustrations of the commuter who is worried when he or she requests a ride because he or she doesn't know if she will arrive safely or not. In doing so, we were able to develop a value proposition that effectively addresses the issues and benefits of all stakeholders. This necessitated extensive stakeholder engagements, and we ultimately reached an agreement in which the Gauteng taxi industry, specifically Santaco, Gauteng, and Gauteng National Taxi Alliance, expressed their willingness to collaborate with the e-hailing industry as long as they could safeguard their business and recoup the customers and all money they lost to the e-hailing services. Consequently, they became shareholders of Shesha to address the issues that their members are currently experiencing. Although it was not easy to reach all of the e-hailing drivers, as you know that the industry is not formalized, we managed to reach those that belong to some associations, and we were able to convey our business proposition, which they received with gratitude. And the e-hailing drivers stated that they are also eager to collaborate with the taxi industry as long as they can operate freely and without fear of being intimidated and exploited. These engagements culminated in the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the two parties, which regulates operations between Shesha and the minibus taxi industry. That is how the collaboration between the two industries began, and it was intended to be a historic point of the South Africans, the taxi industry, and e-hailing drivers. And while we have yet to receive an agreement from the meter taxi, we are continuing to talk with them, and I can confirm that we are close to reaching an agreement. The misinterpretation of Shesha has resulted in a significant decline of our brand's reputation. We are of the opinion that this is solely due to lack of information. Consequently, we will be conducting a variety of workshops to disseminate additional information about Shesha. We would be grateful if you could help us to also disseminate the positive aspects of Shesha so that the public could be well informed about who we truly are and what we stand for. Shesha is established to address problems, not to cause any conflict whatsoever. It has plans to restore the respect and dignity of the black child, plans to empower its drivers, plans to develop communities, and plans to empower the minibus taxi industry. Shesha is here for the e-hailing driver, for the e-hailing rider, the minibus taxi operator, taxi driver, meter taxi, and the community at large. It is also about Ubuntu, something that only South Africans understand. Like any other app company, we have encountered our fair share of shortcomings, such as the unavailability of Shesha on the iOS platform. We are continually striving to address this issue in order to ensure that Shesha is accessible to our potential iOS riders. Although we acknowledge our limitations, we are delighted to claim credit for the positive and beneficial outcomes that we have achieved with our application. such as our stringent identification validation process that verifies both the driver and the customer's ID, facial recognition, and banking information, guaranteeing authenticity and peace of mind. With OTP verification, each ride has an additional layer of safety with a unique OTP, bolstering identification, accuracy, and trip security, as well as fixed pricing, which allows the rider to plan their trips better, and many other features that riders could learn more about once they have downloaded the app. In terms of marketing our brand, we are working diligently to ensure that we market the brand and we make it known and used throughout Gauteng. Ultimately, we plan to expand the brand to other provinces after engaging with the appropriate stakeholders in those provinces. Both the taxi industry and e-hailing drivers have shareholding in Shesha. This demonstrates that Shesha is not about profits, but about people first. Despite the minibus taxi industry and e-hailing drivers having been allocated shares in Shesha, Shesha remains an independent company, operating in accordance with its policies and procedures with no undue influence from its shareholders. Back to the alleged intimidation, harassment, and extortion allegations. Let me assure you, South Africans and the world, that Shesha is a law-abiding corporate citizen of the Republic of South Africa that complies and respects all the laws of the country. We would like to put it on record that these acts are not sanctioned by Shesha as a company. Shesha is an independent brand, an independent company whose business objectives are to enter the market and grow organically. We have a compelling value proposition for the driver and customers, safety being the most paramount. What we bring to the market is everything that the e-hailers have complained about historically with other apps. While we have realized that the perpetrators could be some of our stakeholders' representatives, whom we are happy to hear are being disciplined, we are also aware of opportunists who impersonate as the taxi industry. They are pushing their own agendas to taint the Shesha name and create confusion, and or are pushing the old narrative that fueled historical conflict. Let us remember that long before Shesha was established, there has been reported conflicts between e-hailing drivers and the minibus taxi industry. Some of these conflicts resulted in serious injuries and damage to property. It is therefore incorrect to report that the conflict between the minibus taxi industry and e-hailers is caused by the existence of Shesha. However, the minibus taxi industry, meter taxi, and e-hailing services drivers are our stakeholders, and we will persist in our engagements with them in the event of acts of violence and intimidation. This is necessary to achieve the peace and harmonious working relationship that our drivers, our riders, communities, and government desire. We have regional representatives from the taxi industry and e-hailing industry who are available to assist any driver or commuter who feels intimidated. They will provide assistance only to the extent that they are able to do so. If the situation is beyond their control, law enforcement must be alerted. We will ensure that we share our regional representative contacts on all social media platforms. In order to educate and manage the expectations of all our stakeholders, we will continue to conduct change management on the ground. Shesha appeals to the community to support our efforts in maintaining a safe and respectful environment for all service providers and users. We believe that through cooperation and mutual respect, we can achieve a thriving and inclusive transportation sector. We have invited the two national taxi structures and e-hailing drivers representatives to join us in briefing to give them an opportunity to clarify their working relationship with Shesha and answer to the allegations allegations made against their members. I'm certain they will take Q&A during our Q&A session as well. In conclusion, Shesha will do all it can to work harmoniously with the minibus taxi industry for reasons that save for alleged, violence and intimidation. We have a lot in common. Both modes are operated by previously disadvantaged individuals, and they feed, educate, and clothe poor South Africans. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Portia. We're going to now move on to Tato Ramaila from our Gauteng e-hailing services.
Thank you again, Program Director. We are old school. I don't have a gadget to read from. Now this is missing my papers. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tato Ramaila. I'm the interim chairperson of Gauteng e-hailing services. Gauteng e-hailing services is a structure, and it's a provincial structure or organization that incorporates the following regions in our Gauteng province, which is Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, West Rand, and Pretoria. All our regions, as we are a formally new structure that has just come into forming a formalization representative structure in our province, we at the moment standing at 4 regions that are participating in the Gauteng e-hailing services, of which the one that is still outstanding is Sedibeng, and we are still embarking on making sure that all constituencies are represented within the e-hailing industry. And all this interim leadership, they have their own constituency and leaderships in their regions. So I wouldn't take much of a time, but try and allude to members of the public and the drivers that the purpose of GES is to accelerate a formalization of a Gauteng e-hailing structure and registration of all drivers within the 5 regions of Gauteng, and make sure that all drivers are accounted for, and we are embarking on bringing them on board, and this formalization will assist us and the government to be able to regulate, control the influx of operators, and also this will address the financial growth that is not controllable at the moment, and enhance in the empowerment programs through the leadership of the regions that will be elected by drivers on the ground, to see that we all as the e-hailing industry, we are also well represented amongst our regions and our leaderships. And as we stand as GES in the province of Gauteng, we condemn all forms of violence and intimidation that we have seen that have been affecting our South African brothers and sisters and operators within our regions in Gauteng province. We as a structure should and we will not at any chance condone such behaviors. We urge the public that we have taken a resolution with the GTI and Shesha team that we look into all the challenges that have been spread out on the road. And with that being said, none of the violence, as my colleague have said, that is a new thing that has been boiling out in our communities, in the malls that we have seen around Soweto, around even Ekurhuleni. This has been an ongoing thing that has been going on, but we are happy also to say from our side of the industry, we have actually taken care of that and made sure that no violence or intimidation or extortion of any form that is happening on the ground, and we have successfully done so. And we urge the community and the drivers to be careful of those people camouflaging themselves through the brand of Shesha or Gauteng e-hailing services or the GTI itself in our province, and try and tarnish the name of Shesha or of the GES. Our purpose as a structure is to make sure that we bring a good transformation plan that is robustly discussed amongst drivers and leadership. We do not leave anybody behind. We understand that there is and could be some leaderships and members or drivers or operators on the ground that feel that to say, as Gauteng e-hailing services, we are not accessible. We urge all the public and all the operators to say, Gauteng e-hailing services is for everybody, and we welcome you to come and engage with the leaderships in your regions, and we make sure that we find a collaborative, integrated transport solution that will assist us to formalize our informal structures and make sure we assist the government to give the government solutions. Let us start as South Africans to be solution-driven instead of problem-driven. With that being said, I would like to thank the opportunity that has been given to Gauteng e-hailing services to represent itself today here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramaila. Now we'll proceed with Mr. Theo Malele from NTA.
Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity. Let me outrightly thank the innovation that Shesha has brought about for the taxi industry to begin to realize the losses that it had to incur, by also making mention of the fact that for the past 13 years in this country, there has been e-hailing services for which the taxi industry's livelihood has been under siege. And thanks to Shesha that they brought about an indigenous platform, a South African platform for us to actually utilize in order to realize our business potential. One has also observed, because there has been previous allegations meted against the taxi industry to suggest that we were intimidating e-hailers at shopping malls. So it's well easy to make such allegations without, investigating thoroughly. I have had an opportunity to visit, these facilities, and my observation is that in all the malls in the townships, there are scouters who are actually in search for elderly and mostly women carrying heavy parcels, leaving, the retail outlets. They inquire as to whether those people would need transport. Obviously, unsuspecting, they would normally say, yes, we need transport. And they will be directed to a vehicle which is not marked. Clearly, these vehicles are also illegal. They are pirate vehicles. They do not belong to metered taxis. Neither do they belong to the e-hailing services. So these, pirates are operating on a daily basis, and they are masquerading as e-hailing services. So it is through such acts that we as an industry are actually being blamed as such for some of these conflicts, when in essence we have not been a part thereof. We are now grateful, okay, although the taxi industry has been given a route network to operate within that network, the geographical network. And we've been operating along those routes because we know that to traject from those routes, we invite in trouble. But the e-hailing services, interruptive as it is, it actually traverses, crisscrosses throughout all cities without any punitive measures. But we are grateful that finally the South African government came to its rightful senses and ensured that they actually are legalizing the e-hailing services. Much as we are happy, but we also are saying what has been happening for the past 13 years. Why was e-hailing services allowed in the country when this was an illegal operation? And none of those vehicles have ever been impounded. And it is still happening today with what I've alluded to earlier on with regards to pirate vehicles, scouting unsuspecting commuters at these malls. So we'd be grateful if law enforcement authorities can look into that aspect and ensure that it does not happen any longer. We also have realized or made to believe that some of our operators were seen. There was a video that we saw where allegedly taxi patrollers were intimidating people, coercing them to join, the e-hailing services, the Shesha e-hailing services. As an industry, we've never sanctioned that. And as a result, those people had to face disciplinary procedures within their respective associations. And they have been fined and some have been suspended. And we also must say that we are now out there trying to find exactly where these allegations of money is being collected are coming from, because from what we have investigated, there hasn't been any thread of information suggesting that those patrollers were soliciting money from those operators on the ground. So we urge the public at large that as and when such incidences are seen, these matters are sheer thuggery and as such should be reported to law enforcement authorities so that these are nipped in the bud once and for all, because we are here to make money, but not to create enemies. It is for this reason that the taxi industry truly and wholly supports the e-hailing drivers and the Shesha platform for having brought a solution to the challenges of our shrinking market share that has threatened our vehicles, have been repossessed. Some people are unable to can even cover the cost of operations. Neither would they be able to can also look after their families because of the margins that are being so low for the past 13 years. But we are hopeful that we will turn the corner and find peace and make money as an industry like we used to before. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Malele. We'll now move on to Rebecca Pala from Santaco.
Thank you very much. Just want to make sure. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and to fellow South Africans who we understand are following the proceedings on a number of streaming sites. As we continue with this conversation, I will essentially build on what my counterpart, Mr. Malele, has already said. Something very important. The first thing that we want everyone to understand is the taxi industry has been clear from the onset to say we understand that there's a lot of criminality that is often perpetuated by people who purport to be representing us. And we've also always made sure that everyone understands that we do not mandate people to act in a criminal manner. The head of the Santaco Road Safety Campaign, Mr. Makakula, is here. And it's one of the things that he often emphasizes to say people must understand the taxi industry does not mandate people to be violent. And that's why once we found that there are some who in one way or another are linked to our work, disciplinary proceedings have since been undertaken, as Mr. Malele has already said. It's also important for everyone to understand, Mr. Malele, you would have seen a number of the news reports have been saying, Santaco app, Portia. It should be understood from today that this is a marriage of like-minded collectives, if you will. So you've got a collaboration that's starting in the Gauteng province, hence even the invite that called you here said Gauteng taxi industry. So we're not confining it to one organization. It's important to understand that you've got the South African National Taxi Council, Santaco, you also have the National Taxi Alliance, and we're working with the colleagues who understand technology better into what has now been known as the Shesha e-hailing app. So that's very important for all of us to understand. We also want to urge South Africans to really have a sense of patriotism. You would have heard in Portia's address that the colleagues that work with Tato closely have not been having it easy. These foreign-owned apps, you would have reported in one way or another of people having been subjected to a number of criminality, inclusive of people having their belongings taken from them, people being raped in some instances. And so when you've got an app that's coming to the fore and the people behind it are people that you know, people who speak your language, I think it's very important that we appreciate that and we understand that it is a collective effort. So it's a South African effort. It's not necessarily an effort of the taxi industry as though there's a they and them. We are one because we understand as the biggest custodians of road-based public transport that the taxi industry has an inherent role to play in ensuring that we save what is left of the dignity of public transport. And so we were not going to fold our arms, also because the reality of the matter is that the needs of present-day commuters have changed completely if you were to compare with maybe 5 years from now. Hence, we had to get into this particular agreement. So I'm just going to leave it at that and allow the colleagues to pose questions, and then we'll take it from there. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. We'll now move on to our questions and answers session. We'll take the first 3 sets of questions and allow the panel to respond. Then secondly, 3 sets and allow we'll just move in that flow. We'll take the first 3.
Good morning. My name is Katlego Lerodi. I'm from the SABC. Wanted to just get a sense of a breakdown of these cases. You're speaking in general to say people are being disciplined. Can you give us a sense of how many people are being disciplined? What kind of cases did you come across? And where to from here in terms of the disciplinary process in basically safeguarding the operations of Shesha and the industry? And also, you've spoken that we've moved a bit and Malele around the formalizing of this industry. Where are we right now, according to your understanding, in terms of government's work and the interventions of formalizing the e-hailing sector? Where are we right now? Are we getting there? The scouters, how are you basically going to deal with that? Do we have certain e-hailing, maybe Shesha e-hailing, transports marked? Because if you're saying there are people moving around the malls and scouting and calling on grannies to, enter into some of these vehicles that are unknown and pirated vehicles, how are we actually dealing with this issue? Do we have Shesha vehicles that are marked that maybe you can direct people there? How do we actually identify whether this person that is asking as to where am I going is a Shesha person? How are we actually dealing with the issue of piracy within this space? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mpho Lakaje. I'm from ENCA. I only have one question. The e-hailing services that you are taking on have the backing of big players in Silicon Valley in the United States. So what I'd like to know is, are you bracing yourselves? Are you ready for the financial onslaught? Thanks.
Thanks. Kat, let's start with your questions. The breakdown of the disciplinary proceedings. I think it will be very important for us to understand that you would know when this started. A lot of people just take videos and post on social media. So we didn't necessarily have people lodging formal complaints. But for instance, in the case of Santakwe, a lot of the cases were coming from Tshwane, in particular Soshanguve. We had one case, you'd remember, Mr. Malele, where a lady was driving with her son and she was stopped, taken to an association office. And luckily, she was able to make a call via one of the media platforms and we were able to intervene immediately. The people that were found in that particular case were 3. They've all been suspended as we speak now. But I think it's going to be important for everyone to underscore that we will not have the exact numbers because we're doing this on a continued basis. Majority of people are only getting the courage now to bring the matters to our attention. But I think it's also important, again, to add that all that we're going to do is in terms of the mandate that employees are given by associations. And so we are still also encouraging South Africans in terms of recourse to also open cases with law enforcement and ensure that their matters are attended to. One other area that's also been found to be quite problematic is Ekurhuleni in Tembisa. Again, a number of associations there dealing with a number of these cases. We will not give you an exact number. I think it's important to make that very known, but maybe to also let you in on what the disciplinary proceedings often include, because perhaps that's where people's interests are to say, but why does it seem as though they're getting let go quite scot-free? So once a matter has been brought to the attention of associations, associations have got people who responsibly have been mandated to deal with conflict and resolution. And so these people are brought forth to present their cases, but evidence is also looked at. And then in the interest of ensuring that commuters or just about every South African is not harmed further, then there are measures that are taken inclusive of suspensions. And in terms of formalization, a number of efforts are being undertaken. I'll speak largely from the perspective of the minibus taxi industry. A lot of people would remember Mr. Malele just during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Transport had called the National Taxi Lekgotla, but obviously there were a lot of issues at the time then. And one of the resolutions there was we need to formalize the issues of regulation and compliance in terms of documentation that's requested. Those are some of the issues. In terms of how far we are, look, it's a dynamic industry. We're not where we were in 2020. We're making necessary inroads. It is a work in progress. And then in terms of piracy, I think you will take that posture to talk about the stickers and the identifications that we have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. You've said a mouthful, colleague. The issue of us having to deal with pirates also speaks to law enforcement agencies needing to also get their act together, but it's going to be difficult though to stop each and every sedan to verify if indeed they are actually loading people for profit purposes. But some intelligence could work for them, especially near retail shops where they can actually pick, this sense of people being coerced to go into a particular vehicle just for verification purposes. And I think the other aspect that could help would that be of stickers as a form of identifying legal e-hailing services at this shop. Malls, and I think another one that we also need to share with the public is our customer care line, which is 0800 11 3322. I repeat, 0800 11 3322. That's where aggrieved commuters should forward their complaints. They should also make sure that there is the vehicle registration and a brief description of that alleged occurrence and the date and the time as well. That could somewhat help. So we actually rely wholly and solely also on the commuting masses to assist us in that regard.
Thank you, Ndete Malele. Excuse me. I just wanted to add on my colleagues on the issue of the scouting. We use the name Amapela to identify those particular illegal operators. I would like to urge the community and the members of the e-hailing industry, especially the drivers, to refrain from doing such on our malls or designated areas. And what we need to appreciate also as an industry is the National Land Transport Act, which has now been signed into law by our president about the beginning of June. That it also gives direction that vehicles that are operating the e-hailing industry must have a certain marking so that people can be able to identify. And with our new technology app company, which is Shesha, we have actually, before it was even signed, embraced the marking that we have a sticker that stays like a license disc that will definitely show you that this is an accreditable driver, an accredited vehicle that has also underwent inspection from our own members in the regions of e-hailing. So we have covered those bases before. And another thing that we need to emphasize on in collective working is that we need to refrain from Abafana Basema Mall, those who are normally scouting people, calling them to these private cars that are misrepresenting the e-hailing industry. As e-hailing industry, we condemn those people. We even wish them that they are the root cause of this problem, and we will not support that, and we will deal with them decisively using the law and making sure they are apprehended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mpo from ENCA. In response to your question about the giants that obviously started the e-hailing industry, I'm sure you are aware that the issue that we are currently facing in South Africa, it is not unique to South Africa. The conflict between the taxi industry and the e-hailing services. We have seen countries where the very same issue, continues to happen in other countries, and where other countries, they actually banned those, those e-hailing giants that you are referring to, in protection, obviously, of the taxi industry, as well as protecting the economy of the country. And that's what we're also hoping that in South Africa, we can achieve. What I can tell you is that, yes, we are not the giants, and we are not the people who first came up with the e-hailing. But there are so many countries today that have taken the route that we have taken as the South Africans to develop our own app in order to safeguard the economy of the country. And it doesn't matter if, yes, they've got obviously millions, billions of money, and that obviously we do not have. But then there's one thing that you need to understand that we have. We've got unity, we've got Ubuntu, and together, that's how we will overcome all those challenges. So yes, we are ready. We wouldn't have embarked on this journey if we weren't ready. So we are definitely ready, and it would be a great success if we come together as South Africans and make sure that this becomes a success. Because at the end of the day, as I've already alluded, this is not an individual project, for profit gain. This is for the entire South Africans, the e-hailing industry, services drivers. This is about the taxi industry. This is about the community. This is about the economy of the South Africa, which we intend as Shesha to develop. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you. Katlego Logodi again from the SABC. I wanted to check in with you, just a question of clarity around what Mpo said here, my colleague, on the multinationals that are operating here. Do you see what is happening here as somewhat of a pushback from those that have been within this space? When you categorize the challenges that you've faced since you've launched, do you pick up a little bit of a pushback from those that have been within this space that wouldn't want you as a South African company to win? And also, how do you deal with the issue of foreign nationals? Often when you go onto these apps, or complaints around these apps would be that there are a litany of foreign nationals that are drivers. Sometimes the identifications, you can't even pin it to the driver. The issues around who's driving and the name of the person that is there. How are you addressing some of these issues as we speak about issues of job creation as well for the locals? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katlego. Regarding the pushbacks that we have received since we have started, we are aware of that, and we believe it's because of lack of information. And that's why I said in my statement that we're gonna be, we're gonna try very hard to ensure that we share the information that those drivers out there aren't aware of, even the customers. So I also believe that this media statement would also, assist with that. So we definitely, it is a journey. No one said it will be easy, but then what we are saying is that educating them, we will continue to do it. We will workshop them. We will have workshops in different regions. As I've already alluded, we do have representatives in regions, in different regions, and we expecting those nationals. As you know, that our app, we do verify the the ID, drivers when they register, and even customers, we verify them. We use their ID. We are linked to the Home Affairs system, so we verify their ID. We are linked to the banks, all South African banks. We are linked to that as well. So that is also a form of verification that we do, and then we also do the face recognition. All this we do in to protect both the driver and the customer. So we have registered foreigners on our platform who we have verified, and they do comply, and we allow them on the platform. So as long as you are compliant in terms of the security, then we allow you on our platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shesha. Any more questions? Okay, thank you everyone for participating. Your inputs are invaluable, and thank you very much, and we look forward to a meaningful engagements going forward.
Well, on behalf of the taxi industry, I'd like to thank you very much for having graced this occasion. And we look forward to working together. And feel free to call us as and when you are made to believe that any of our members are, busy with some misdemeanors on the ground. We are very much willing and prepared to work with the entire South African communities to ensure that we redeem the taxi industry's tarnished image, as it were. Let me give my colleague at Santaco also to share their customer care line with the public, because I have already shared ours. So let me also give her this opportunity to do the same.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Malele. Colleagues, I think it's important, because South Africans are watching us today, to reiterate that the taxi industry is very appreciative of the support that you continue to give us. Statistics continue to reveal that despite the many inventions that have been brought into the transport space, the taxi industry is still the preferred transporter for a large number of South Africans. So we're doing all of these innovations because we want to diversify what we're offering with hopes that you'll continue to support our service offering. The customer care line for Santaco is 012-321-1043. That's 012-321-1043. Thank you very much, as always.
On behalf of all the e-hailing leadership and operators, we like to thank the South Africans and everybody here. We hope from today that clarity has been given, and I would also like to apologize to those who were affected indirectly or directly in the e-hailing industry. That as Gauteng e-hailing services, we are not here as enemies. The taxi industry is not an enemy to the e-hailing. We pledge to you all members of the community and the operators of e-hailing industry to say, this is our collaboration. We need to work together and make sure that we collectively become a successful integrated transport system. We thank you.
Thank you very much. Since we have come to closure, I would like to say thank you very much to the media houses and everyone, to the South Africans out there, particularly the Gauteng communities. I just want to say thank you. If you want to reach us, you can go to our website and you can send us any queries there. We will be gladly to assist. On our app, what we also have, we've got a help button that you can, we recommend, we advise that you click on that help button. That button will take you and link you to the agents, to Shesha agents. So if you've got a technical error, if you've got any form of a question, anything whatsoever related to Shesha, you just go to the app and then you've got a help button. And then that help button will link you to the agents. They are always available 24/7 to assist you with all your queries, all your comments, or anything that you need assistance with. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.